Move to accept the minutes.
I'll move to accept them. Rob Snow.
Sorry for being
Thank
a bit
you,
late,
Councillor
you guys.
Snow.
The
All in
video
favor?
for the council didn't show up till literally after they
Carried.
started.
Thank you. 4.0, the oath of office. Councillor Conlon, congratulations. You're going to be our new deputy mayor for the next 2 months. Could you please read the oath of office, please, placed in front of you?
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Pulick.
We need a motion first, please.
Can I have someone move to accept the appointment of Councillor Conlon for deputy mayor?
I move to accept Councillor Conlon as the new deputy mayor for January, February.
Thank you, Councillor Raymond. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor Conlon, you may now read the oath of office for deputy mayor, please.
Thank you. I, Paul Conlon, do swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of
This is
deputy
boring.
mayor for the town of Vermilion.
It's always
So help me
boring.
God.
See if we can kick the resolution up a little bit. This is a little weak.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. I would also like to take this time to thank Councillor Pulick for guiding us
Pulick.
through this.
They always
first
say
2 months as
Pulick.
our
I love
deputy
it.
mayor. It's been very much appreciated and the
Here, let's kick the resolution
to
up.
help us. Thank you.
Still a
We shall
little
move
rough
on,
to
I
see, but a
believe.
little bit better.
We'll go to 5.0, bylaws. The 5-2012, amending bylaw for Parks, Recreation, and Culture Board. I believe Councillor Martin, will you speak to this for us, please?
For sure, Mayor Thronson. As we started the fall here with the new election, we were reviewing our bylaws at the Parks and Rec and Cultural Board, just reviewing them and making some changes that the board would like.
This is absurd.
And also
They-
just some
they keep
new
trying to
direction
push for this.
coming forward from that
Here, I'll
board.
explain in a second.
So we were like revising the bylaw and adding a date into this letter of reviewing the budget for Parks, Rec, and Culture.
Committees don't make the
on
budget.
September 1st, which should allow us to have more discussion on any insight or ideas coming from Parks, Rec, and Culture.
This is coming from the county of Vermilion River.
For the
They have members on the board who want to control how the town spends their money.
Thank you,
Any
Councillor Martin. Appreciate that. Can I have someone move to give first reading?
How's that look? Is that better? Tell me what layout y'all like.
Councillor Snow?
I move for first reading.
I believe is there a line there for you to read there, Councillor Snow, please?
This one's probably the best. Yep.
Recommendation, Please.
Fun. Fun.
Yeah, I move that the council of town of Vermilion give all 3 readings to amended bylaw number 5-2021.
Point of order.
Yes, Councillor Pulick?
Pulick.
Okay, so if so wish, I will make the motion. Move that council for the town of Vermilion give first reading to amending bylaw 5-2021.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pulick. I appreciate that. Are there any comments or questions towards this, please?
This seems like a waste. I wouldn't go
I have
for
a
it.
question.
Go ahead, Councillor Pulick. Thank you.
So I'm not in favor of this particular amendment to the bylaw. The bylaw was reviewed by Parks and Recs in detail last year, 2021. Well, it was it 2020? Let me just look. Sorry. It was reviewed in 2019. And
He's not wrong.
so this particular request is to make an amendment to add a budget review after the director submits the chief financial to the financial officer and then have it go back to Parks and Recs. And as you know, in the bylaw, there is a section in there that needs to be changed as well. If you're going to open up a bylaw, you want to make changes to other things rather than doing this piecemeal. And to me, this is a piecemeal way of doing things. For example, in section 2A-I, it says the board composition in terms of office states that the board shall consist of, says 15, no more than 15 members, but it states in I that 2 members
Hey, how you doing, man?
must consist
Good,
of
you?
council.
Good, good.
That's
We
good to
did
hear.
not have 2 members of council on that board.
I'm
We
using
only
a
have
different
1.
mic this time. Can you hear me?
So we as a
Yeah, I can hear
council
you, yeah.
are not
Perfect.
complying with this
So
bylaw
you have,
by only having 1.
Sorry, go on.
council. So
I was just asking anybody else actually
it's an
joining?
agreement to change. We need a
I don't know.
discussion on
I sent
that
some
as
links out.
well.
We'll see who's available. If
And,
they choose to join
to
us,
put
then
in
great.
a request
If
for
not,
a
whatever.
review
Mercedes got to put her
the,
kids down and stuff
budget.
before she can join.
Yeah,
Um,
understandable.
To me,
So far,
then
we
that
haven't.
opens up for
Well,
all
they did the
committees.
oath of office for Paul
Every
Conlon
single
being deputy
committee that
mayor.
we have
Yeah, I
And
watched that
then
part, yeah.
should have the
Oh, okay, so you've been
opportunity
watching.
to,
Okay.
Yeah.
um,
I wasn't
submit
sure if you were
budget
gonna actually
requests
stream this
to,
stuff. So.
through the director to finance.
Yeah, I figure might as well. It's a fun
and
time.
have them pull together the information.
So
and
I
bring that
heard they
back
are
to
not
all the
allowing people to
committees. And
go
I'm not
into this.
so sure that
Pardon me?
our
They
chief
said because of
financial officer
the
has
Omicron,
time
people are not,
and,
they are not
to
gonna
do
actually be
that.
in
And
office.
the normal process for most
Here, let's
committees is
uh,
that
quiet them down. I couldn't
committees
quite make
provide
out what you said there. What was
Okay,
that?
so what I'm saying is that they are not allowing the public in.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and they use the COVID rules for that. You can see they've only got the 3 counselors and maybe Mr. Lucas in there and some of his staff. But
Yeah.
But no, that's an easy go-to. COVID's a way to keep the public out, no problem.
Yeah, I also heard that the rules today changed.
That the what changed?
The rules for the arena changed from the province.
Oh.
Did you hear?
Well, I was watching Global earlier, and they were going through some of their new rules for the stuff that goes into place. I think the 24th, and that was 50% limit for recreation facilities over 1,000 people, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't go through the actual press release from the province. Did you?
I did read it. Yeah, quickly. So basically, I don't think he can even serve any food during intermission or actually while setting. So that whole thing about opening the concession is probably gone now.
Yeah, no, it definitely really makes you question what their rationale is to stick with it when the reasoning they gave has essentially, dropped away due to other government factors. But here, let's turn it on. They're currently debating this amendment for the Parks and Rec board. The Parks and Rec wants to have some level of control over their budget, and it doesn't seem that all members of council agree. This is probably coming from the county members of the Rec board, but I can't say for sure.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, please? As I see no more on, Councillor Pulick, please.
Okay, so Mayor, with the motion to table,
Oh, so they're tabling it.
through process, we will require, unless otherwise stated, a seconder if council so chooses to have it tabled, and then have a vote on the motion to table.
So I will lean to Mr. Lucas here briefly for. So then we will not ask for the vote then. We will still go ahead with the vote. Okay. Then I will ask the question, is there any more questions or comments then, please?
Hmm.
Then I will ask the question.
Of
All in
tabling?
favor?
Seem the only person that wanted to table.
What does
it.
actually table it mean?
Opposed?
It means that they don't vote on it; they just kick it down the line to the
Defeated.
future.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I am guessing out loud, then we will move past that second and third reading. Taking a wild guess, but you know, in my youthful age, I'm gonna go with, that was a pretty good guess.
Yeah, maybe we missed a bit there,
New
but
business,
seems like they
6.0,
tried to table it and
We're gonna
that
go to
got
6.1.
defeated.
Due
So
to the
they're just not
COVID-19,
moving it at all.
it is the open public commentary, I believe. And due to COVID-19 restrictions and recommendations, even just today, there's been change of restrictions.
This is what you're
The
talking about.
council chambers is not open to public at this time. I believe, Mr. Lucas, did you receive any other written submissions through your email or phone?
We did receive one public commentary to myself and to all of council.
Okay, and that is one I think I'm going to refer to. There was an email received by all councilors. I believe we've all had a chance to read it. I believe Councilor Pulick certainly will. He's late to the meeting and certainly will read it. And it was received from Nicole Hawk.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize if I said that last name wrong. It is received to us as information. We have all read it. It's accepted as information and will be referred to as administration for further information. I thank you for your email and your comments. It is very much appreciated. I will now close public commentary. Thank you.
They didn't even read it.
Yeah, what the heck?
6.2, operating and capital budget
Are
2020.
they
joke.
supposed to read it?
Yeah, typically they would read it.
Survival.
Yeah.
Are you out there?
Thank you, Councillor, sorry, Mayor Greg. Yeah, so we're bringing.
I
back
thought
the
they,
operating
yeah,
budget,
they are
so
supposed to read it to the public,
passed at the
right?
last council meeting for first reading. and
Sorry,
we
what's
just
that?
need, second and
They
third
were
reading
supposed to
on
read it
this.
publicly, right? Not just say we received it and that's it.
Yeah. Well, who knows? They may have changed the rules for public commentary, but we always did it where we would
And then bring
read
it
them
to
out loud.
open council for first reading.
Yeah.
And so the
Because otherwise, what's the
budget
point,
not
right?
passed,
People
Yeah.
are
we would
like
require
people are
a
giving their
public
feedback
hearing
not
for
just to
first
council
reading
but
and,
also to the community as a whole.
mill
So
rates, mill
I
rates
guarantee that if this was an email that was speaking very favorably to council, they probably would have read it.
Probably in Q1.
Hmm.
And,
That actually, yeah, I guess, huh?
Assessed. Or,
Yeah. It is weird times for sure.
So the budget presented to council does include the cost saving ideas that staff have included.
They didn't
in the budget,
save fucking
including,
shit.
items such
Pardon
as
my
hourly
language.
reception and VoIP
It's okay.
contract negotiations. A number of cost.
It is weird though that they just said, oh, we received an email, we all read it and let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Rob will read it when he gets a
I guess,
chance.
I will
Yeah.
Open it up to any further questions as well as a motion to pass it for a second and third reading.
I can't stand the lack of originality when it comes from these type of positions.
Can I have someone move to give
What do you mean by that?
second reading?
Like you're
Councilor
like it is impossible for these people, for some of these people, to imagine another way that services could be delivered for the same or less money. Like there are some of these people who legitimately believe that because of CPI or inflation being at such and such a percentage, that no matter what, the budget needs to be ballooning by a comparable percentage. And quite frankly, I disagree because that's assuming that you're keeping the status quo. But the whole idea is if you really were getting a little more creative with your ideas, you wouldn't be proposing status quo.
In the attached appendix A and 2022 and 2026 capital budget.
But that's the thing, like, you know, I think most of them actually said that they are against increasing the budget, like you're saying. and trying to look into actually more, like you said, non-original way or some other ways to actually maintain the service while actually cut the costs. Once they are in, I think one of the first thing we're actually increase the budget by 2.2. So I see, I see what you're saying there.
Well, and it's just like that 2.2. That wasn't really like when we were watching the last meeting. That wasn't really effectively conveyed to us why it is that increase is necessary, right? Like they very easily could have broken it down and been like, okay, the increased amount of policing that the town has to pay this year compared to the year prior is another, however many thousands of dollars, and together we add all this up. Chuck. Here's how we get to 2.2%, right?
Yeah.
They didn't really do that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was then, 3 weeks ago, this council received this budget, this 2.2% one, and they probably had some concerns about it, and we're told that, well, if you want less than a 2.2% increase, what services do you want cut right now? And so it's kind of it's an unfair. Here, I want to listen to what he's saying, and I'll finish this.
Yeah, okay.
Understanding that, the staff that we have, we value the staff, and staff have not had a substantial increase in quite a while. And they are providing they've actually stepped up the plate and done a very good job in providing the services that our community values. Snow removal, providing services at the ice rink, etc. Understanding that, this budget, a great percentage, maybe Brian can speak to this, that the largest percentage out of this budget is to cover costs that we have no control over. We have to pay whatever requisition comes from the lodge. We have to pay for the requisition that comes from Northern Lights library system in order to operate
What a crock of shit.
the entire library system for
That's
northeastern
like
Alberta.
a few $1,000s.
Choice and the increased, maybe Brian can speak to the big increase.
And
that we
that's
have
like to
now
cover
have
for
pay
the
to have
the
RCMP in our
2.2.
community. We have to pay that.
Sorry, what's that?
And that money
Like,
that has gone up.
they need that money for
Years ago, we didn't
what?
have to pay for
Light?
RCMP, but
Yeah, Northern Lights
the,
essentially will need that money,
government
but
and
we as a
wisdom
municipality
decided
pay
that
like $5 a
communities
person
of
for
our
our
size
membership
had
to
to
Northern
pitch in
Lights.
and pay
It's
for RCMP.
it's not
And
this
that's becoming a
severe
big
or
cost for
extreme
our community. We're a
expense that they're
small
talking.
community, but we have no choice.
And
We
it
have nothing
also
different.
discounts the
Ace
idea
Water
that
System.
even the
Our water
lodge
from Edmonton. We
requisition,
have to pay
well, majority of the members of the
to
lodge
get
board
that
are
good water
town
in the
council
community.
members or
And as
members of the
well,
Vermilion
sewer
public.
taxes. We have no
So
control over the sewer
the
taxes.
if you don't need so
Brian,
much
the
money,
finance
then
director,
they shouldn't
has
have voted to
based the
take so
budget
much money.
based on all the
But
information
even
that
then,
he's
that's
received to
really disingenuous.
determine,
You notice how the three
are
things that he
these costs
chose?
gonna
Okay,
go up
Ace
or not?
Water, the lodge,
Information is that
and the
they're not,
library
but you
system.
know what?
Oh,
The
it's all
government budget,
third-party groups that
so
deliver
margin is
services.
Yeah.
Right?
So
There's no account of,
for
oh, well, our
getting our
costs
best
increase because of
educated,
X, Y, or Z. It's passing the buck.
determination of what that number is going to be. So, Brian, can you speak
Yeah.
to,
I gotta
out of
pay
the
more attention
percentage
to a
of that
lot of these numbers. I usually like
2.2% or roughly,
getting pay attention before it's
how
this
much
is
is
my
that
first
made up
time.
of
So
all
yeah.
these commitments
Well,
that we have as a community? that we have no control over?
what your office should do is actually contact Mr. Leibel and find out what the mill rate is this year.
The largest increase or the largest factor in
The
terms of,
mill rate?
Yeah, it's called the mill rate.
tax revenue, which is
It's how many mills of your property value they'll charge you every year.
essentially
So
half of the
if your
increase,
home's worth like
looking at
$300,000,
we are seeing
Yeah.
increases in
then 1
insurance
mil
liabilities as
of
well.
that
Utilities,
is
you can see,
$300.
that cost item
Hmm.
increased by about 8%.
Yeah, so that's how our property taxes get assessed. It's all based on what your property is worth,
Similar
and
to
then
the,
they take a whatever percentage of your property value, and that's your tax levy. So what happens is our property values have been decreasing just to just the way the market is right now, and but they've still been taking more money, and the way that they've been able to do that is by increasing the mill rate. So we used to go from about you know, roughly 1.05 or so % of your property tax or of your property value would go in taxes every year. Now,
Yeah.
with these numbers, I wouldn't be surprised if that's well over 12 kind of thing, right? So even just over 3 or 4 years, that winds up being, I don't know, like a 15% increase or something. Like it starts adding up pretty severely, but you can mask a lot of tax increases in your mill rate.
Opposed?
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Well, if they were really being honest with us, the mill rate would be the number that they'd tell us about when they're advertising their new tax levy.
Councillor Conlon?
I make a
It's
motion
something
that
to
the
consider for sure, yeah.
council for the
But I never knew any of that,
third
so
and
yeah,
final reading
I'll be attention for that. True.
2024.
But again, that's
Operating
what
budget
you learn, eh?
revenues and expenses detailed in the attached Appendix A and 2022-2026 capital budget and forecast with expenditures, which includes an increase in property tax revenue of 2.2%, an increase in water, sewer, and solid waste utility rates as detailed in Appendix C.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Questions, comments, please, once again?
And what are they even talking about? The 2021 operating budget was approved with a 1% property tax increase in May, following a 1% decrease in 2020 to financially benefit taxpayers during the pandemic and economically challenging times. That's not true.
Carried. Thank you, everyone.
So what happened? Like these numbers are not actually accurate?
Well, at least the background that they're providing isn't true. Like there was no tax decrease as a result of the pandemic. There may have been the idea of holding the line and not increasing expenses or minimizing the increase of expenses, but there was no situation where the tax roll was decreased. So I don't know where they're getting this 1% decrease from.
You want to add to that, Councillor Snow? You want to save that for the round table? It's up to you.
We can save that for the round table.
When they release these agenda packages to the public, do you get all of the attachments and stuff as well?
There's the minutes, there's the agenda, but I don't think you get the attachment now. I don't know. I have to double check again because since it changed the website, there's a lot of stuff seems like it's missing. Because I
Yeah.
remember there was an old website and yeah, it's been a while since I checked that because back then when we had a different reporter, they used to check more into that.
Yeah.
Now, after like our reporter is part-time, so they don't do a lot. Like not to say they are not, they are working hard, but
Yeah.
in part-time hours.
That it specializes in fitting braziers. So they
Yeah, since the pandemic and things with like where working was, because we used to have two reporters before that.
Yeah.
Now we have actually one part-time and the other is basically not even a reporter. He just helps with better stuff. Yeah.
So what
This
is
is
it?
something so I actually wanted to ask you about the stream. Is that stream actually open or you have to be invited to see?
The stream?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, yeah. If someone has that invite link that I sent you, they can use that to get in.
Yeah.
And then we're live on YouTube on my YouTube channel right now. If someone doesn't want to be on the panel but they want to watch, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering, yeah. And it stays on YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I don't take this down. So unless YouTube takes us down, this will be up.
Yeah, because it's just because I was thinking, because I think, yeah, we did swear a little bit last time, and I think YouTube would probably like demonetize that. I'm not sure.
YouTube will demonetize what?
Will demonetize or maybe sometimes take it down when there's a lot of swearing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a few weird rules about that. Like swearing, it's a matter of avoid swearing for like the first 2 or 3 minutes of your video.
Yeah.
And then I've also heard that on streams, if you get past 2 hours, you can pretty much say whatever you want. The whole bots and algorithm and whatever that's watching the stream kind of stops caring after 2 hours. That's what I've heard. I don't know for sure. I've never really said anything offensive enough on the internet to get taken down. But sorry, I was just reading this. So it looks like they're
Again,
giving an
it's,
incentive for
it's
this
a
lady to make a
valuable,
pop-up Christmas store.
program, and I certainly support this motion to assist this new company coming into our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Is this a long-term company? Because it says right in their background that this is a pop-up store.
Business in comparison is Camrose.
Pop-up store.
We're offering a niche to a business that's very, there's none of them out there, not even in
So
London.
she's hoping to open by January 22 and is planning a pop-up store before Christmas.
Mary Lee Pryor, a big shout out to her to help gather all the information together and help us with this project. She does a lot behind the scenes that we don't see, and she was a big part of this. So I appreciate that.
I'm not sure I understand. We might have been talking over it, but what exactly do they do?
What is the story?
I have no idea. I wasn't
Oh,
actually.
there. Looks like someone's asking right now.
I can answer that, Mayor. So they're a brassiere underwear store essentially that focuses on specialized like, size.
Now we're
Specialized sizes? Is that what they said?
yeah, we're up to date. Thank you, Councillor Snow. Thank you,
Did
Councillor.
you say underwear store?
Yeah, it's a bra store.
No longer the deputy mayor.
I'll just add this with this incentive program. It's interesting to know it's up to $15,000, but there's also an incentive program for industrial ventures as
So?
well that goes up to $20,000. So it's
Yeah.
like Councillor Kulik said, it is a fabulous program to bring in commercial and industry into our community.
It's all right. If you really want to gauge a success, you should look at how many of these businesses last more than 2 years.
I guess so, yeah. A lot of business start and close before even the year.
Yeah, and that's the natural cycle of business. So you're kind of expecting that to happen. But when your municipal government is kicking in, 0.4 of a tax increase for every one of these incentives that they give out, it does add up. Right? Like think of that. If they just didn't give out 4 or 5 of those incentives, there would be no need for a tax increase.
Probably not.
Councillor Martin, do you want to say
And that's the thing. Like the more the programs like that or incentives like F, you probably need more taxes to spend it on.
But that's exactly my point that I was saying earlier about how there's a lack of creativity when it comes to building the budget, right?
7.31 minutes of December 8th, 2021.
Like in 27 minutes, I could probably come up with 5 or 6 ways of getting to a 0% increase, but they refuse to do it.
Councillor Raymond, do you want to throw some comments now or save?
Like, is that part of it, like being just like also most of the council is inexperienced, like the first timers, like almost all of them except Robert is their first time in the council. So the words that I hear is like, because most of them lack the experience, and that would have been a problem for anyone going in, like him. What I hear is they get told by the financial officers and the CEO what to do.
You're saying that they're relying on the CAO and the financial officers to tell them what to do?
That's a rumor I heard in town too. Like some people came to the office, mentioned stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, that's possible. Hey, Mercedes, how you doing?
Hey there.
Hey. Well, I think that is to some extent like excusable, right? Like you don't have all of the context, you don't have all the information, and you have staff for a reason to help provide you with information and context to make an informed decision, right? But they're supposed to be the tool, like they're the assistants, right? The staff, they're not supposed to be the ones making the decision.
Yeah.
Right, but you can tell that this budget was built by administration. This council did not write this budget.
And this is not the administration job though. Like they just give feedback on it, right? Am I right for that or no?
Well, so council's supposed to tell administration what they want, administration is supposed to come up with a draft budget, and then council reviews that draft budget and then gives more feedback back to administration, and that just volleys back and forth between council and administration until there's a budget that everyone agrees on. But really, administration, like, they write it, but they don't get to vote on it. Like, that's what people really need to understand is council is responsible for this budget. So if these members of council voted on not increasing taxes, it is incredibly disingenuous to say that they had to increase taxes because administration told them so. They are administration's boss.
Yes. So how long usually that process can take? Because this seemed like very quick, that increase.
Yeah, well, it usually should probably take 2 or 3 months. Your whole fall, starting in about September, October, going through about end of November, December. So the issue is that the election happens, right? So typically what probably or would have happened or should have happened is that you get whatever version of the budget from the previous council. They'll do their first draft or something like that, and then just so that you have something to work with, and then the election happens, and if there is a big upheaval in council, then that new council can make whatever changes to the draft budget that they're going in with. But the idea is that there's something that you're working off of. It's not that you're going in and starting at step zero.
And was that what they did this time?
I believe so. I thought that we had met and discussed our goal for the budget for this next year. That's why I was shocked that we came with a 2.2%, because if I'm recalling correctly, I was very much against that.
So you think that they just started over, regardless of what may have been already kind of rough draft for you?
I'm thinking that administration just kind of took the opportunity to present the budget that they wanted.
Good discussions at that meeting as well, at that board.
And by took the opportunity, you mean because most of these councillors are just like new to the process.
Yeah, exactly. All these people are new. There wasn't a bunch of folks coming in with, very firm in their beliefs into what this budget needs to look like and where the community needs to go. So it was a time to just take advantage of some of the confusion and, if anything, earn some brownie points from council because you look like you're helping them out.
That's interesting.
Helping them out until it stabs them in the back when everybody realizes how big of an increase actually happened.
Well, and same thing with that REP program too, right? Like that's apparently something that came from administration, and then administration just tried to blame council on it later. Not to say the council is without blame, because again, they are in charge.
So what happens at this point? Is there something that like council woke up one day and realized that this is what administration was pulling? Would they be able to start kind of firing people and doing some shuffling in the administration side?
Possibly. The issue that restricts them there is that the only employee of council is the CAO, right? So it's Mr. Lucas. So they're responsible for the hiring and firing of the CAO and giving directions to the CAO. But in terms of how the CAO handles all the rest of their staff, that's their job. So if the administration has some people that are absolutely crazy and are ruining things, that doesn't come up. Like council doesn't deal with any of that directly. What they would is when they do the evaluation for their CAO, they would say that, hey, he struggles to keep his team in check and those type of things, and there's room for improvement, yada, yada, yada. It would be reflected in his evaluation, not theirs. What the strongest thing that this council could do now, and they're hesitant to do it because of the fact that they're all so new, but they should probably get rid of their CAO and find a new one.
For waste management.
Yeah, that's
Considering how-
Sorry, go on.
go ahead.
Amar, you can go first.
I said that's a sentiment I actually heard before the election from some of the. I'm not gonna mention, but like some we're talking about, like, yeah, we need a new, CEO, especially how the CEO was actually hired and how George just left. It was. So that sentiment I heard from some people actually running before.
Yeah, and I actually probably should contact one of my legal friends and just have them give me some advice on what I can and cannot say, because there is a really serious and interesting story that relates to how we went from George to Kevin that I think a lot of the community would like to know, but I have to be careful with what I reveal because a lot of that was privileged information.
Thank you.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, but I heard many like because like working in the paper, you get a lot of people walking in, and everybody like say something and or mention something, and I kind of like poke, like ask people or. So I heard many stories about what happened there.
Well, and where there's smoke, there's fire, right, Amber?
Yes, exactly. So I heard stuff like, talking about George himself, saying some stuff about him, which I'm not gonna repeat, but I don't myself believe. I met George a couple of times. I think he's a great person. I don't know him enough to like vouch for him.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen and from my conversation, I think he's a nice person. He's a good person. I don't know. But I heard otherwise too. Some people said, I'm not going to repeat what they said, but it's basically because they had to get rid of him because of him. There was nothing else.
Yeah, and it's somewhat complicated. I will overall say that no person who's going to be your CAO or really hold any position is going to be perfect. There are things that I have positive to say about Mr. Rogers, and I do have my criticisms. Overwhelmingly, though, I think he was a positive, left a positive mark and impression on the town, especially with me being, so fresh coming into all of this. It really was a tremendous benefit to have him. I don't know, kind of play the role of a pseudo mentor or knowledge base kind of thing. But there were many times when he opened his door and picked up his phone and just gave advice and guidance along the way. And for that, I'm incredibly thankful. Mercedes, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to be asking about how it would work considering how new Kevin really is in his position as a permanent position. But more so, the issue, it seems, is that instead of taking the time to really find someone new at the very beginning of the whole process, not the permanent position for Kevin, they just got rid of the old one and just threw in a temporary, and that temporary just worked enough not to really rock the boat. Instead of like, yes, he's working, but is he working for us, like for the long term? So I think maybe the question should have been asked a little bit more before he became a permanent member, because you can always get rid of him later. That's fine, but it's the damage of from now till then that could potentially hurt the community more than what a new person may benefit.
That's a report from our
from
Alberta Health.
And again, I'm going to probably keep it arm's length from a lot of that. Just because I don't want to accidentally say the wrong thing. But I would agree that it kind of seemed like the status quo, or at least how things currently are. It was easier just to keep rolling with it like that than to roll the die. And more often than not, if you've got 4s and 5s out of 2 dice, you're better off rolling again. And that's my opinion.
Alberta. So that was brought forward, but unfortunately,
and benefit is now with a whole new council in general. It might be a fresh start idea. So yeah, get their feet wet, get a couple council meetings in, and kind of get used to the system. Maybe get over this first budget. I don't know. But then start looking at, are we working with the right people? So
adequately.
It could just be a temporary
um,
thing,
and
especially with how
really help
new
us finding
everybody
that,
is.
in this area, we've got
Like
our
we were
complement
talking
of
about
doctors.
the other day, not a single
Some
person
doctors
on
are
the
away for a little
council
bit of a holiday right now, and
is reelected in their position,
covering those
even the
off.
mayor. He was
Yeah,
not an
those
incumbent mayor.
positions are away. But
Well, with the
all in
exception
all,
of Pooh
they're
Liquor.
keeping
Yeah.
Yeah,
abreast
well,
and dealing with any of the COVID
So-
situations that are
Yeah. Yeah,
coming
they
to our area.
he makes
So
such an impact that
they're
he
able
might
to
as well
manage
not
it
have.
at this point in time.
But
Mhm.
They just
I
finished-
think
they just came
that was
back
a little
from an
rude. I take that back.
ex-commission meeting, so,
Mercedes,
details
your
from
comment
that,
I think is
won't be available till our next meeting, so I'll
is
be
suited
bringing that
or
forward,
makes a lot of sense about maybe starting
in
with a
regards
fresh
to the water
perspective, but I
supply
think
that
maybe
we obtain
that's
as a
also where some of the
community
hesitation comes from
through
as
the
well.
Commission.
Like
Outside
you
of that,
you could just
there isn't much
you got an
much
all fresh
happening now
council
during the
essentially, and
holiday
then go and
season,
get rid
so
of
I'd
top
like to
dog and
echo,
admin and start fresh there.
happy
But then
holidays
there's
to
no
everybody,
institutional
administration,
knowledge,
staff,
right?
counselors,
And
True.
and
as
all
well,
that
I
all
like
that
to
kind
But
of
there's a
does
lot
is
of
just,
maturity.
the volunteers in our community.
what do you mean?
And really
Like there's a lot of
send them
maturity on this
strong Merry
council
Christmas
in
because,
life
without
experience,
their
homeowner
efforts in
experience,
pitching in and helping our
community experience,
communities,
that
we
maybe they
wouldn't
don't know how to
have those
be
events.
a town
And
councilor. They
the
don't know much about
volunteers
the
really
politics,
help out
but that's
in
why
our
like get your
community, and
feet
that's,
wet. Use the first
since
3
I've
months
been in
or the next
Vermilion,
3 months to kind of really
that's
start learning.
one of the
And
things that
then if
Vermilion's
the
well
council members
known
here
about.
are
It's
as
a
energized
friendly
as they were in their
community, and it's
campaign,
volunteers, people that just pitch in
then they should be
and
ready
just
to go
put their
to
heart
kind
and
of
soul
make
into
big
everything
moves,
that
because
is about our
better to
community,
make big moves in
and
your
it
first year
shows.
and
And
then
so,
kind of settle in,
again,
make your
Merry
mistakes
Christmas,
now so that
everybody.
you look better
Thank you,
coming
Councilor
up into the next
Bullock.
election.
Was very well worded. I do appreciate those thoughts from you.
Yeah, it's just tough. Like
Uh,
it's just you just
Councilor
wind
Ray,
up in a situation where a bunch of people who don't really have a bunch of experience for their job or how the organization works yet are then responsible for hiring someone who kind of runs the whole show.
And it was just deemed that
And it's just
Yeah.
it's tricky to know what you want out of an employee if you haven't really even been working with them.
Sure. Is there other communities or councils or people that they could kind of go and outsource that information for? Like, say, if they were deciding things need to change, is there other communities in the area that your town council already has like connections to, or communities they can kind of lean on for information,
Yeah, there's
experience from?
Yeah, and like, because you look at it, any of these positions, right? Like economic development, CFO, infrastructure and planning, or whatever. There's going to be an equivalent position at Wainwright and in Vegreville and in St. Paul and in the county of Vermilion River, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So
Yeah.
so there are resources available to give you expertise and stuff and assistance along the way. The issue is that they don't work for you, right? So you need your own CFO to do your own payroll and build your own budget, because I doubt Vegreville is going to lend you theirs for extended periods of time. The only thing that
Oh,
brings
that's not
up,
what I'm asking.
oh, what were you asking?
That more was that like if they needed to hire somebody new, leaning on Vegreville, say, and saying like, what did you look for, or what were like your qualifications when hiring? Do you know of anyone, or the CAO? Do you know of anyone that would be best suited for the area to add
definitely.
to the list of candidates?
Yeah, and in that kind of case, I just go to a headhunter.
Closest neighbors
Mm.
in municipal
Like
government.
I'd have to
I did also
recall,
just
but
based on
a
that,
couple
use
of
filters
the
and
directors
stuff,
in
but I
this
haven't
last
actually
term were hired through a
run into
headhunter.
on that. I have been made aware of it, and just basically what Josh has said. That's about as far as I've heard information on that. And yes, I've talked to many constituents over the past couple weeks, and I appreciate all feedback.
What they
And
should do
yes,
is
I'll always
some of
take
these
a call
positions that
if there's
exist
something to be looking
in
into.
every municipality,
But yeah,
but maybe
Merry
isn't a
Christmas and Happy
full-time
New Year.
gig, they should team up for, right? Like, say you're say like you're Alan Wilson, like your planning and development guy. Just take his role and be like, okay, you are a 0.4 Vermilion staff, 0.4 Wainwright staff, and 0.2 Manville staff, and just go from there, right? Because I doubt there are enough applications to keep this guy busy 5 days a week in any single municipality, but it's still a job that needs to be handled by some of these smaller communities. So it seems to make financial sense just to group those together, right? And I think
That would
economic
actually
development
be a
would be
good idea.
economic development, especially. Like, I don't see why the county of Vermilion River and the town of Vermilion need to have different economic development officers. What we need is one person who knows the ins and outs of the infrastructure and the zoning and those type of things, and can just wheel and deal these companies. You get a big company that's interested in coming directly adjacent to Vermilion. Oh, but it turns out the infrastructure needs aren't there. They need a water well or something. Who knows? Well, at least we can keep them with the same staff member and start investigating going 3 miles out of town for the same project or something, right? Like, they, instead of
That would
having this
benefit
competition,
everybody.
where the count. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would benefit everybody, and it would also decrease expenses, because instead of paying for 2 people, you're paying for 1. Or you could even pay one person a little bit more and get a better suited person or a more experienced person for the 2 jobs. There's a lot of
Yeah,
advantages to that.
and the question is, do you really actually need 2 people? Probably not. Like, do you think for the economic development, like the council and like the town and the county each need like their own?
Community through a very, very tough time right now with COVID.
Yeah, and there are some of these positions where very well they might need their own, right? Like some of these, even some of the lower level ones, you might need an individual person at each office to answer the phone and to deal with walk-in traffic. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but I mean, in a position like economic development.
No, I agree. I agree that a lot of these you should just have one expert, increase their wage so that you can hire someone of very impressive skill, and spread that cost around a few municipalities and then you're increasing the skill and decreasing the cost to each municipality. It seems like a pretty clear winner.
Correspondence 10.1, the County of Vermilion River.
We already do that with the community enforcement officer. I believe 0.2 of their pay and time is spent in Manville.
It's just information. Councillor Poole,
So it is possible. So it was like it is already being done with other positions. Okay, that's
Exactly.
No, I surprise.
Yeah, it's already being
have
done.
no
It's just about
questions in
expanding it.
regards to the
The issue
county's,
is that no one wants to relinquish control, right?
for
People
asking.
with power rarely want to give up power. So you can be a community of 2,000 people and have full autonomy or what have you, and you may not be very powerful, but you're fully sovereign. And some people may prefer that versus, you team up with a bunch of other communities, you get to a population level of like 10, 12,000, and you can start lobbying the provincial government more effectively. Yeah, sure. But some folks would rather be 100% of the 2,000 than be the 16% of the 12.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
For some.
that would work only if the people actually had a chance to voice their opinions on it, because the community gets to decide if they feel like their community is bigger than it is, and if they feel like their voice isn't being heard, let's make it heard. Because if it's not being heard and they can combine with the communities around them, that's an important vote that should be kind of part of the mandate for town council or community leaders in general. It shouldn't be up to the community leader saying, hey, well, I have this power. I want to keep it for myself. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, and the one thing that, I was just talking about how sovereignty is important to a lot of folks, and you want to be independently able to make your own decisions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are a number of these things where we're heading into situations where we need to start getting past that, like the school boards. you know, in some of the areas they've combined the public and Catholic school boards, and you know, through their charter that they've got, they're able to leverage all of the students to get even more benefits back. Like, it's not A plus B, you know, gets you the sum of the two parts. It compounds based on the amount of students that you have, right? Like a school with 1,500 kids is going to have more available to it than 3 schools of 500 kids all put together.
I remember
Right.
similar things happened with the water line from Cold Lake to Bonnyville. When they decided to do that, they combined with the different communities along the route and offered to kind of join in with us, take a piece of the pie, enjoy the Cold Lake water, while also not having like the full cost of it on your shoulders. Just kind of join in and take a cut of the expense, but take a cut of the pie as well. And it worked out really well for a lot of communities to join in on that.
Yeah. Sorry, Amber, you were going to say something?
The stream just ended, right?
Yeah, their stream is over.
Oh, that was a quick
That
one.
was
Yeah, they didn't seem to have any committee minutes or anything to review. They had those few motions, and I think they had economic development and what was the other one? The Startup Lloydminster or whatever it was. It seemed like they had that, and then they went right to correspondence. It didn't look like there was anything else.
Why
We
was
always-
it partially online versus partially in the place? I noticed that there was some talk of people being there for this meeting. Do you think that played a role?
As to why they moved the meeting from open to the public to online only?
Yeah.
I possibly part of it is the province came and laid some new rules down, so that very well could be it. But I don't know. I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if they had tried to avoid some of the public attention. Like, one thing that you missed, or I don't know if you were watching or what, but they had a correspondence. A lady had sent an email that went through and had her concerns, and all that they did was they said that they had received it. They never read it or anything, which was my understanding of what happened to correspondence that was sent in for public commentary, because it's public commentary, but I could be mistaken.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's all interesting stuff. It is just frustrating, though, the seeming lack of transparency. Like, there's a small hints of it, just these little ways, like stuff where, like, when they stream, they have the comment section turned off, right? Small things like that. That used to be open. You used to be able to go and leave a comment, hey, good job, or whatever, or here are my thoughts on whatever, but they just shut it down for no reason.
And it's great for the community to be able to discuss, because the community is able to just talk to people that they saw at the town council meeting before, and then talk about it afterwards. This is the alternative. This is the new option. So talking on the comments, just even to each other, should be more than allowed. It should be encouraged.
Well,
But
you want to go.
want silence.
Well, you want to go even beyond that, Mercedes. The town spent something like I can't remember what was the specific portion of the town, but it might have been like $40-something thousand. We spent like $85,000 or something as part of the government. The provincial government had a program for transitioning into COVID. So you could spend a bunch of money on equipment to help get through dealing with COVID, right? And so what we as a town chose to do was to spend that money on like conferencing and broadcasting equipment. So that's where all the cameras in the chamber came from, and all the microphones and all these type of things, right? But the idea of let's, as a community, go and spend, all of this money on all of this equipment, And what they've chosen to do with it now is to just make it a means for you to catch the stream as it's literally happening. They have the playback features turned off. You couldn't even pause, or you couldn't rewind or anything 10 seconds on that video. So I just wonder, like, we as residents of this community put all this money in so they could go and get this equipment so that they can more easily communicate digitally. And then they've chosen not to communicate digitally. The stream goes down as soon as the meeting ends. There's no comments, nothing. How is the community
They've
being
almost taken
benefited?
this as they've taken this as an opportunity to close the doors even further than it was before.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, people were able to come anyway, but then the idea of having it online for, again, I think Amar and we talked about this last time, was about being able to just listen to it when putting the kids to bed, or, busy at the gym or anything like that. You're able to just listen in without having to, be there. And you should be able to listen. You should be able to listen in the next day or the next week or before the next meeting. I understand not needing it on there forever because, like you had talked about, certain votes don't need to be counted or made aware of, like, who voted what. But there should be some ability for people to actually know what community. And shutting it down the moment it goes down is worse than having it open to the public to come in.
No, you're right. Because under the rules, they're not allowed to tell people you're not allowed to attend, right? And it was only because of COVID that they were allowed to say no people physically in the building, but as a result, you have to provide an alternative for them, right? That was the rule. So, yeah, and I think that they've just gone for the most restrictive version of this possible. It's watch it as it's happening, literally at the speed that it's happening, no captions, no anything, right? And I personally, I watch a bit of live streams. Just so happens that most of my content creators that I follow, that's how they've chosen to make their content lately. And so I'll catch probably 3 or 4 a day. Very rarely am I watching them live in sync with the present time of the recording. There's often times where I'll purposely start a live stream an hour or two behind so that I could listen to it on enhanced speed or something, just because that more personally suits my style. Or I happen to be busy at 8:30 in the morning, but I'm available at 10 or something, right? But with this is the equivalent of you physically showing up to the council meeting. But to answer your question about the recorded votes, how that would handle is if a vote wasn't recorded, right, then and council votes whatever way on it, it's just the result of that vote is what gets put in the minutes, not how they individually vote. And then those members of council aren't supposed to be going and saying, oh, Steve voted against this and everyone voted for it, Steve's a bad guy. But there's nothing in the rules that stops a member of the public that happens to see that Steve votes, X or Y, and to criticize Steve publicly for voting Y. There's nothing against that.
Okay, so in other words, having this video footage, watching the hands go up or down, that is not against the rules by any stretch. Watching it 2 weeks later, watching it a week later, watching it a year later.
That is my understanding, yeah.
And I mean, that would make sense because you can't stop the general public who have the legal right to know what's going on from talking about what they saw.
Yeah, that's where my perspective would typically lean to, unless they're somehow getting sensitive information or something, right? But they're not allowed to be in the room during closed session, and the rest of the meeting is public. So
yeah,
I'm trying to think of another situation where something is publicly available for you to attend, but you're not allowed to talk about your experience attending afterwards. I don't know if I can really even think of any.
Yeah. I think it still all boils down to you're given an opportunity to make town council or your town what's going on with it such an open availability. People that work nights, people that have children, people that have activities, be able to see and hear what's going on in the community. Like this is a fantastic new ability that came out of COVID for everyone to have this opportunity. And then they take it and say, nope, we're going to keep it to the same level, if not a little less of an open conversation for people by putting it on YouTube, by not necessarily broadcasting to the public about when these meetings are, and not giving a lot of the people the opportunity to watch this, and then shutting it down the moment that it is off. They're really losing out on this great advantage to make the community more aware and make the community more proud of its community too.
It just doesn't really make sense to invest all that money to improve the quality of your recordings, both audio and visual wise, and then just to keep it all under lock and key.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, we could have just. If it was just a matter of recording all this stuff, we could have opened a conference phone line that sounded like dog shit, and everyone could just call into that if they wanted to hear it. No video, nothing, whatever. If it was just about them getting the raw access to the information. But yeah, it's I would agree. I think that the whole point of putting your meetings online like that is so that people can watch them when they want. What's the point of broadcasting something, particularly on YouTube, if you're going to make it where it's watch it live or don't watch it at all? What do you think? Do you have a different perspective as a man of the news, Mr. Ammer? Oh, he might have dipped out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in and out too. My little ones are awake.
No sweat. Well, we don't have to necessarily keep going if you guys don't want to.
No, I'm fine. I just have some questions. If like I don't know what the rules are, but let's say like the newspaper, for example, record them and then upload them on the newspaper website, like something like that, Lakeland Connect or whatever. Would that be illegal itself? I don't think so.
I don't know if it would be illegal, but there is a sheet or a code of conduct or rules of council that we have. And I remember we reviewed it when I first got on council. And part of it was that if journalists wanted to record the meeting, they could, but they had to ask first. Was the idea is that people were going to be recorded. They had to be aware they were being recorded.
Yeah, so but I'm not in the meeting. They are actually broadcasting, but the difference here that they are broadcasting these meetings public.
Yeah. So and I think that they're still following similar rules, but I just don't know how much they can hold out. Like, how can you say that something can't be released publicly when you're releasing it publicly, right? Like I get your argument.
Yes, basically, yeah. I'm just releasing it for indefinite time, unlike you who release it during.
Oh, was that you or my headphones that cut out, Amber? You said
I don't know. No, I maybe it's the headphones. What I'm saying is basically, if they actually put it out to public, and I am somebody who's from the States, even log in, record it, and then put it in a website. It doesn't matter where the website is. It can be in Canada. It can be in Australia. They can't do anything about it.
I don't know what they could do. I would think that they take issue with that. Like they might even take issue with what we're doing right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, but the first thing that we have to remember is that once on the internet, it's always on the internet. They decided to put this on YouTube. They could have put it on the town website. They could have put it on some other form of streaming service. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. And they chose to put it on YouTube. That was their choice.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because the county council I think what they do is that if you're a member of the public and you want to join their meeting and not in person, that you have to email them requesting a link, and they'll send you like a participant Zoom link or something like that. And that's how you can join. I don't think that they have like a YouTube channel. I could be wrong though.
Because let's say there's a news organization out there, like, whether it's The Voice or anyone, record these meetings, put them online. I don't think the town council can do anything, because I think the legality of it has to be with not their own bylaws, but it also was this have to go to court if they want to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless they're going to get their community enforcement officer to harass you. But if you live in Houston, Texas, what do you care?
Or you even live next town. You don't have to be living here.
Yeah, true. What's
Like if you-
our... Go on.
Because when you say community enforcement officer, like, they can harass you about something on the internet?
That's a good question. They could try, but what grounds do they have?
Yeah, like they are going to come to my house and be like, hey, you have to take that. I'm not taking it. What are you going to do? There's nothing really they can do. Like, I'm not like, having, unless they harass you about something unrelated, like, oh, you didn't like mow your lawn or something. But I mean, regarding the internet itself, I don't think they have any.
They don't have nearly
Yeah.
as much power
I-
as they would like to have. That's for sure.
That's
Yeah,
one thing. I think another thing, it also makes them look bad, because you can sit there as a mayor and talk about transparency, and you have a problem with somebody actually take something that is public. That the only thing they can probably do is, oh, next one is not going to be online, which
Well-
make them look even more bad.
Well, and another thing that these people have to be aware of, and most boomers really, really fail at this, is if someone is doing something on the internet, like someone's job is talking on the internet, and they're
Yeah.
doing something that you don't like, trying to shut them up using the courts or enforcement officers or whatever is only going to make them talk about the issue more and draw more attention to it. Like, it's like these people that try and sue Twitch streamers to get them to stop talking about them. All that
Yeah.
happens is that Twitch streamer winds up talking about you a whole shitload more because you've added a whole bunch of content to their plate.
Yeah, the Barbara Streisand effect, I guess.
Yeah, the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but that's
I think that's the whole thing.
because I think it is important. I don't know, like, if the newspaper would do something like that, like, but I think it is important that this stream stay in line. There's nothing wrong in it, especially if you're talking about transparency. You streamed it online first. You just didn't keep a record. Keeping the record itself should not be illegal. And I don't think even the bylaw can do anything about it, because it's the internet. Like, they have to go to court or something. Maybe issue like a copyright claim as to YouTubers, which is gonna be funny because it's a public commentary. It's a public like town council meeting.
Hello? Did
Hey.
everybody empty out?
No, I just I lost audio
out?
for a second there.
Oh, did you hear me?
I
Kind of
heard
stopped
most of
halfway
what
through.
yeah, I heard
Hmm.
probably up until the last half of a sentence you said.
Because I think legally in Canada they cannot make you take it by bylaw. They probably have to go to court, or they can try to take a copyright claim with YouTube if you have it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is gonna sound funny because what copyright claim you are? It's not like an intellectual property. It's just like a town meeting.
Yeah, and they might be able to get away with that just because YouTube is so deferential to people who make complaints regarding copyright. But if you could challenge their complaint, and your complaint is fair use or Creative Commons in Canada,
Yeah.
and we clearly meet that standard. We spent most of the time talking over the meeting.
Yeah. But even if you just upload the meeting by itself, but not to YouTube, to Rumble, for example, or to
Oh yeah.
whichever, I don't think like any person who's a printer this is streamed online as a public commentary. The town doesn't really own it. Like it's not like a new song or a movie that is you make profit
That's a
out
good
of it.
point.
So I can
Yeah,
hurt
they're
like
not
your
coming to make
profitability.
profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the copyright
That's a-
claim doesn't even stand in here.
Yeah, no, I think that
Well-
it's worth the risk. Sorry, Mercedes, I'll let you go in a second. Like,
Yeah.
even just for what I was saying, like, if the only way that they could get you on something would be to try and take you to court, and you drop a GoFundMe and be like, a government is trying to oppress you for sharing publicly released information, then your GoFundMe would make so much money.
Yeah, but also it also would make them look bad. Like even in town here, like the town and the town council is trying to shut their own stream or hide. What are you hiding? Because that's what most people will jump into. Why they want to actually take it down? What are they hiding? It'll actually make more people watch the stream.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
So the-
go on.
go on, Mercedes. Yeah. 'Cause
Oh,
we
well,
were
I'm
talking
just
about-
kind of, it's the idea that all of this is, we're talking about how the town council could get upset at us. But the idea is like, we're not talking badly, to the extent where it's like personal. We're not being deceptive about what we're talking about in regards to what they're saying at these meetings. We're not doing blatant lies. We're not purposely putting the people down or the positions that they have. All we're doing is talking about what's going on. There's nothing that we're talking about here that would have any reason to say that we are in trouble. Like even with different commentary shows that are on YouTube. Here, this isn't any different. We are changing the stream in essence, and we're actually most of it is talking over the stream. So if you want to hear the stream, go and watch it live. Because I mean that's the only way you're allowed to now. But if you want to hear what we think of the stream, you come to us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just like good old Nikki Rackets, eh?
Seems like it.
Yeah. Actually that's a good point, Emmer. They would you want to stream for something other than just the council, like whether it's just chatting or finding other stuff? Because I'm putting together some other projects I've been working on and things that we could share. So there's other ways that we could start doing this, because this is very much Vermilion Town Council focused, but we could start doing a stream where we just talk about what's going on in Canada or Alberta or the world or pop culture or what have you. I would like to start doing this more for a little bit more diversity of stuff, if it would appeal to you. Is anyone there? Oh,
I was waiting for Amber to respond.
Did you hear my response?
no, I didn't.
No.
I don't know why it keeps shutting. Sorry. I think I have to keep my screen on, or the mic for some reason stopped.
Oh, bizarre.
Yeah, that's weird. Like if that's the phone like screen went like dark, it seems
Yeah.
like you didn't hear me. So yeah, I said that'll be interesting, because other stuff probably there's more interesting stuff other than town council that we can probably talk about from time to time. And
Oh.
yeah, there's many topics, not just the town council itself.
Yeah, well, this was a fairly quick meeting. Do you want us to talk about some other stuff now? Like, one thing that's been on my mind is I've been following a few trials very closely, and we've got 3 high-profile trials with the juries out deliberating right now.
Like, what trials are you talking about? Like here in Canada, or is Canada and the States, or?
No,
States?
these are all American trials. There aren't any super salacious or interesting Canadian stories going on right now. I could find a few, but there aren't any that the average person on the street would know off the top of their head. But like I've been following the Maxwell trial,
Yeah.
Mr. Jeff's associate,
Jeff.
and then Kim Potter, the taser cop. I've been following hers.
Yeah,
And
I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't been following the Theranos trial, the Elizabeth Holmes, is that her last name? The CEO with that blood prick company who said that they could take a single drop of blood and detect like 60 diseases or something. And it turned out it was all BS. She's
That
yeah,
sounds like BS.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's one of those cases where she seems like she was just a very effective con person and was able to get a few high profile investors really early on. Like I don't want to misspeak, so I don't know for sure, but I think it was like Buffett and Gates and those type of people she was able to get investment from, and she used the investment from those people to get more investment from others. But
Wow.
essentially it turned out that the technology was bullshit. It wasn't able to do what they were claiming it was able to do. And so she defrauded a shitload of investors. And so I guess it's the investors that were coming after her, or her charges are related to defrauding investors.
I'm sorry, but if you hear that and not think it's a scam, you better have seen some damn solid proof to believe otherwise. It just sounds like a scam.
So, yeah, just not to interrupt you, like, see, the stream is actually down now. Like, it just stayed for those couple of minutes and ended. Because I was trying to save it, and it did actually went down before I was able to. Like, that was very quick, faster than last time.
You're saying the town council stream is down already?
Yeah, the town council stream, went down.
I've still got it open, and if I refresh,
it's gone.
Yeah, video unavailable has been removed by the uploader. Yep.
Yeah, that's very fast. You have to be very quick with that.
It's unimaginable that with such technology that they are so willing to just silence themselves, and just shut down the stream like that. Like, reasons to get rid of it would be like they said something wrong, or they made big decisions and they really regret it, or like they don't want this information getting out, or it just simply like this is an allotted time, so every next morning when the person comes in, they get rid of it, like something to that,
Yeah.
And now it's immediately. It's like, let's finish, let's do our chit-chatting, and oh shit, I gotta turn it off. Like, come on.
Yeah, and that's what I think it's like a like duty for some like news media outlet or whatever, as a duty that they actually should record it. Like I know we don't, but I think it would be a good idea. Like, even if you don't have to publish it, but you can go back to it.
Yes.
And in case if you actually like take clip out and put it, it's important, I guess.
Well, what they should do is they should download all of these streams when they're done, slap them on a hard drive, and put them in the records vault.
So do they actually have keep a record at all, or no?
Do they record it at all? I don't know.
Because you would imagine they would at least keep a record for themselves, even if they don't put it to the public.
They're only legally required to keep the written record. So whoever is keeping the notes or whatever, writing the minutes at the time, that might legally suffice. So it depends. If they wanted to really cover their bases and to be fully transparent, then they would keep all of the streams and maybe not have them publicly online. But if someone puts in a request for them, they should be able to fulfill that.
So you can actually ask for request and get some. And get some of that written record, right?
Well, in terms of the written stuff, you can fill out a FOIA request and they may or may not approve it. But I'm just saying that for the streams, they should also store them and keep them. And because it's a public meeting, I don't think that you should have to put a FOIA request in order to gain a copy. It should just be a matter of you email a member of their staff and they should be able to send you the file. But that's not how they're doing it. That's just what I'm proposing would be a good way of doing this.
Yeah.
That would be a nice balance. You don't have to have it on a platform like YouTube forever, but you still have it. I mean, you took the time and effort to stream something. May as well. It doesn't take up a lot of data, especially nowadays. And it doesn't cost a lot to store it, if anything at all, if you have a system already in place. May as well just keep it for the record.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you like even you can keep it like in something like YouTube as private even, and it doesn't cost you like any megabyte at all. It's YouTube, so you're not
Yeah.
saving anything. Fine.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I've realized since starting to actually use YouTube is that your videos, you can set different settings to them. Like here, let's go to YouTube Studio and go to
Yeah.
my videos. So you can have them as public, which is where anyone can go and find them. You can search for the video itself, et cetera, et cetera. But then you also you can have them set as unlisted and private.
Yeah.
So unlisted means that you can see it with the link, but it doesn't show up in search or anything like that. And then you can have private, which is only the owner of the channel can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they could do is they could even just keep these public for when they broadcast them, leave it public overnight, and then just switch them to unlisted. And if anybody needs them after that point, then they can just get the link emailed to them and it'll still be available.
Yeah. But some of them were actually unlisted. Like the one from last week, it said unlisted, and then it disappeared even after I tried the link. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
removed.
No, that
like
means they either
yeah.
they either privated it or they deleted it if the link won't work.
Because I think if they private it, it would come back and it'd say this video is private, but it wouldn't say unavailable.
Oh, then that means they deleted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Mercedes was right. They used to, or at least they used to, and they still should. They would leave it up overnight, and then whoever did the minutes when they got in the morning would go over their minutes and make sure that they're okay. And when they were done that, they would get rid of it. So at least you wound up with like 12 to 14 hours ish of where you could go and watch that video at your own pace. Because I agree, like this whole idea of watch it from 7 to 7:50 exactly is ridiculous. You know, a person should be able to show up at the gym at 8, put on the stream, listen to it in 1.5 times or whatever. And I don't know, but my belief is that an informed community is a strong community, but not everyone agrees.
That is true, and I also think if it's actually like that's the thing. Like I really I'm looking into that. Like either re-recording or re-uploading, because I think this is actually a job for like news website media in general, whether it's like news website like Lakeland or like our newspaper. It should be recorded and it should be uploaded. And as a role for a media, they should even stand behind the decision. Like if they come back and say remove it, no. I don't think they can harass the newspaper that much. I know that the newspaper doesn't always like to be challenging to the town in general.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's a duty for them to actually keep people informed, because there's nothing wrong with people actually being able to access these a day or 2 or 3 even, or a week after.
Yeah,
like
I know.
One.
I know. Like if we were to ask them, I doubt they could supply a satisfying answer as to why we can't watch it on Wednesday, right? It's lunacy.
Because you have a reporter, right, like a town council update, and it stays forever. You can there on and as written. But for me, it's like, so what's the difference if it is a video and it stays forever in the newspaper website? So you click on it and you can watch it there.
Yeah.
I don't see a difference. It's just like a difference of like errors where there used to be written, now it should be videos.
Yeah, why not, right? Like that's how most people interact with media and stuff today. It's becoming increasingly video based. And if you have this information available in video form, why isn't that the method that you choose to share it with people? Even if you'd still go with like the traditional text version, having people be able to go back and make sure that they properly quote people and stuff makes a pretty big difference. Yeah, and
you
if
can
you
have
are,
a summary of like text under the video. It's like for people who just don't want to watch like 2-hour video or an hour video, they can read like 5 minutes read. They get a summary of what happened, like not word to word, but they get a summary. And if something in the words interests them, the video is there. I don't see why the town is not doing that or allowing that. Is weird to me.
yeah, well, that's how the feds and the provincial government all operate, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like if like a town council is broadcasted, I am not sure like what news organization like CNN, if they actually like uploaded it to their channel, what happens. I'm pretty sure it's okay. I really need to look into that. I think it's a really important thing to be done. I don't know if the paper, like where I work, they actually agree on doing something like that.
Yeah,
But
well,
I think
That's a question though. Why is the paper so worried? Or maybe not your paper, but in general, why is the media here so worried about just keeping a record for themselves? It's not like they're having to
no, for
share it
themselves,
publicly.
that's fine. They probably would keep it. They
Yeah.
just don't know how.
Yeah, but why don't they already? I mean, we are in a modern media world where everything is online. The majority of like the news podcasts are online already.
small towns move slowly.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I get that. I get that.
And
I'm
it's
not
not
I'm
just
not
that. I
debating
think
that.
it has to do with also like I think most media, and like I'm not trying to just bash any media, but most news media are behind in tech compared to actually like people like YouTuber and bloggers back in when they were bloggers and people who influencer. Like when it comes to media, I think they are still behind. I think they should pull ahead more, but a lot of people who worked in media come from traditional ways way before the internet, like most of the publishers and the news. That's why when the internet first came, most news media tried to hide behind the paywall. If you remember, you had to like pay, and you still actually today you have to pay like some news outlet will be like, oh, if you want to continue or read this article, you have to pay.
Yeah,
It just proves that they don't understand the internet well.
Well, partially, I think that's definitely some of it. I think the other thing is, I think there's some comparison to like priests in the 1600s before the printing press, right? Before then, the average person was illiterate. If you wanted to know what was said in the good book, you need to go to your local priest or whatever, and they would, read the book or paraphrase the passages to you.
Yeah.
But all of your information was filtered through the clergy.
Yeah.
And then that's why the printing press was such a big deal, is because then they were able to mass print the Bible. And so for the first time, the average person was able to read what was in the Bible for themselves without that filter. And not to sound too cynical, but I think that some members of the media enjoy being the filter to which we access information.
But we all know that that's not true, because I don't know about you, but most of my news I get from videos on YouTube, probably.
Yeah, but we're talking, what was it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when maybe it was 5, when the WikiLeaks related to I think there was a few. I can't remember which story. It might have been the DNC emails that WikiLeaks leaked. But CNN, Chris Cuomo gets on and is like, or maybe it was Cooper, but either way, they were like, you shouldn't read any of the WikiLeaks emails. Yeah, you need to come to us. We're the only people that can read them.
Yes.
Which isn't true.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the exact words, and I think it was Cuomo.
Yeah, I think it was Cuomo as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gone now, so that's
an
interesting one, yeah.
Okay, so talking about that slight detour, are you aware of any of what's been going on with Don Lemon?
I think he's also getting fired too. I think there was a sexual misconduct or allegation.
Yeah, bingo.
Yes, so I am right. I just read some headline. I don't think I read that whole story, because is it Don Lemon or Don Lemon?
It's Don Lemon, but people make fun of him by calling him Don
Yeah.
Lemon. Yeah, no, it's pronounced Lemon. I think I lost you again, Amber.
Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, it's like Juicy Smoulier. The same idea. People
Yeah.
just in the name. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Chappelle started that, and I love how much it took off. Like pretty
It
much
did.
everyone calls him Juicy.
Yeah, and it's really funny actually. Like every time I hear it, I still laugh. Have a chuckle like every time I hear.
Well,
Yeah.
while we're talking about that and tying in with the Juicy thing, it didn't get a ton of attention, but it came out in court that Don Lemon messaged Juicy and told him that the Chicago PD don't believe your story, rather, you're under investigation.
Yeah. Yes,
So
he was in contact with many people, and some of them, I think, yeah, Don Lemon sent him something, giving him advice on what to say and what to do too, I think.
Yeah, well, that was came out in the Cuomo situation, that his brother's first statement after all the accusers came out was essentially written by his brother.
Yes, and not just that, I think his brother also was trying to track them, like, and harass them so they can actually post some of the statements.
Yeah, you're right. There were emails from Chris Cuomo or texts from Chris Cuomo that showed that he had been asking the reporters in the CNN headquarters if they had any more leads on victims relating to his brother. Yeah, quite sick.
Yeah, I think I followed that story, and I I think he was suspended for a while, and then now he's probably gone now.
Yeah, I can't remember what the most recent thing was. I think he's going to try and fight CNN on it, but who cares? He can try. But back to Lemon. Yeah, you're right. He's got a sexuality abuse situation going on. And that situation's ridiculous. Mercedes, you might have heard this one, but that's the one where the bartender at I can't remember what. I think it was the Hamptons or something, maybe, but whatever. Some bartender at some vacation resort.
Yeah.
So this guy goes to buy Don Lemon. He offers to buy Don Lemon a lemon drop, and is kind of like flirting with him, I guess. I don't know. And Don didn't really take too positively to it. And a little while later, that same evening, Don comes up to this gentleman, sticks his hands down his own pants, grabs a whole bunch of ball sweat, and sticks his fingers underneath that dude's nose, and is like, "Do you like how I smell?" or some nonsense like that. Like, just disgusting.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it was a disgusting thing. Yeah, it was.
I'm sure if it was a man on man, man on girl, girl on guy, that's assault. And that shouldn't be happening at a bar. Like,
I don't
come
remember
on.
where it happened. I think it was a bar, but I don't remember where. I think it was Hampton, like you said. I'm not 100% sure on
It
that.
doesn't matter where it is, though. Like, that's not something that you do to somebody. That's like unsolicited nude pictures. That's like, that's being grabbed when you haven't asked for it. That, not appropriate.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's even harassment, it's assault, because I think once you try to, it's more than just harassment at this point. It's probably going to sexual assault. So, yeah, that's where he got in trouble for that incident.
That would be assault. And I'm amazed that wasn't a bigger thing, because any sort of assault like that should not be shouldn't be anything to be proud of. That's for sure.
But that's the thing about like, it depends what the source of the assault. Like if you're Don Lemon and you're like part of CNN, I think CNN will first try to like dismiss it as much. I don't know. I wouldn't say dismiss it, but I don't think they actually like if it was like Ted Cruz or something, it will be like a news cycle all the time, or it's like Tucker Carlson.
Oh, 100%.
But I mean, also, that's something that I keep forgetting. It's like, at least in the bar industry, you're kind of told to expect some level of assault. Like, I had a coworker of mine, she did not trust me as a manager for a long while because she had a previous manager that watched a man assault her, physically touch her, and kept going to the point that she was pulled him up and was ready to throw a punch. And her boss told her if you threw that punch, you were fired. And then told her that that man is allowed to stay because he makes the money. And like the industry or the personality of people sometimes just allows that, thinks that it's okay in certain
Well,
areas.
yeah, it's definitely not okay, but yes, you hear these stories because it's, yeah, they always think about, okay, if I do that to every guy who, like, and I hear these words before, like, not here in Egypt, if I do that to every guy who does that, I'm not going to have enough customers, all right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
But the
right,
customers
but
don't respect you.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, oh, if I gonna everybody who's like, do like any infraction or like don't follow their owns, and I throw them out. I hear these words, so I know that this do exist. It's unfortunate, of course, but
This is actually
I mean, there's
interesting.
other ways to take care of your bar and make sure that it's still profitable without allowing people to go and do that. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
you set the tone for your establishment. If you're gonna let that happen, then they're gonna do it. If you're gonna not let that happen, those same people are still gonna come in, they're still gonna drink, but they're gonna treat your place with respect because you treat it with respect.
Yeah, definitely. The
Like,
manager isn't wrong. Like, it is wrong to actually think like that. Like, I think you always like it's your responsibility if you have a business, any business, not just bar, and somebody come and be abusive to the staff, you should be able to throw them out easily. Nobody will fault you for that, for sure.
Okay, so getting back to the Don Lamont story. Yeah, so pretty much we had all the details right. Dustin Heiss, bartender or part-time bartender, went and bought, offered to buy offered to buy him 2 lemon shots. That was down here, yeah. Heiss, who was a seasonal bartender at the Old Stove Pub in Sagaponack, joined some co-workers after work and ended up at Murph's Backstreet Tavern. So here's Murph's Backstreet Tavern. This looks like a house. This is a tavern. This looks like a tiny, like 700 square foot house.
Yeah, this actually looks, yeah, it does.
Yeah. So Heiss said he recognized the CNN anchor and called to the bartender for 2 lemon drop drinks in a play on the host's last name. Heiss claimed he was being cordial. I didn't mean anything derogatory towards it, but as soon as he said, "I'm just trying to have a good time," I just walked away. And Lemon's attorneys say that Heiss actually was repeatedly yelling across the bar after the host declined. And Heiss claims that Lemon came up to him several minutes later and confronted him and launched his vulgar attack. The ex-bartender claimed that Lemon asked several times, "Do you like P or D?" during the alleged incident, and then did that stuff. So essentially, what they're saying, and that's what these photos here are, the CNN, or I guess not CNN, but Lemon's attorneys are claiming that this was all orchestrated because this Heiss guy doesn't like CNN. I guess he's been very negative to CNN on his social media. And this is a picture of him holding a lemon in front of his junk in front of Don Lemon's home. I don't know when this was taken, but that is questionable if that was before this event. But either way, that seems to be what it is. So we pretty much nailed the details of that story. Gross.
but yeah, that's a whole bunch of just immaturity. And then, yeah, maybe he was completely wrong, but there's also a lot of responses that was wrong too out of that.
Like, what do you mean?
The guys shouldn't have kept, the guys shouldn't have kept going. Like the freaking lemon photo or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why did he make that joke? Why did they ask those questions? What, like, there's certain points where, like, okay, buddy, you're going too far. I'm walking away now.
Yeah, well, and if it had been that this Dustin Heist guy was just being a dick and was trying to harass Lemon, then yeah, by all means, then his answer was fairly appropriate. Hey, man, I'm just trying to have a good time. Yada yada yada. Leave it at that, right? The whole thing, like, there's no problem with that circumstance, and very well, Dustin could have been the dink in it. I wouldn't be surprised if he was making fun of Lemon by ordering that drink, less of trying to be cordial, as he said. But that doesn't give Lemon the right to allegedly have gone up and, put his ball smell all up in that dude's face. Anyways, yeah, I just thought that was interesting that, I think he goes to trial for that in June. I could be mistaken. But combine that with his helping out of the Juicy. He's not looking very good right now.
But also, like, let me be a devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
And I would say, if it wasn't Lemon and if it was just like a guy who's not famous, this would have not gone to court. Like, if that guy, was making fun of not a famous person, and then the other person went and did the same thing with his finger and whatever, I don't know if it went to court. I think the other guy went to court because Lemon is also a known public figure.
Yeah,
Strong.
I probably, if I was the manager in that situation, I don't know if it would be going to court, but it would definitely, someone would be barred. Police would be considered and involved. I think it would be up to the victim, but in similar cases that I've seen, they're kind of just like, bar the guy. I don't want to see him here, and then go their separate ways.
Yeah, that's what's usual. I think it's just because he's he's a CNN anchor, so yeah, it probably got bigger.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think somebody like Nicole was mentioning something in an email here saying that I don't know if you're part of that email.
I get some of them.
Yes, I see, like, even Kathy. Oh, you are part of it. It say Mayor Greg acknowledged my letter was received and then moved on. Didn't read it in council as requested. No discussion or REB. In the round table, Josh and I think briefly Kirby spoke against REB and said receiving lots of email about REB. Can anyone else confirm? I don't know if they talked about. Did you see anything?
REB or the REP, like the passports for the.
Yeah, the REPs, the passports. I didn't catch. What does it say? Josh and Kirby spoke out against it. I missed that, but we might have been talking, or I might have just been getting the stream set up at that time.
I don't remember them saying anything against it even before I jumped in. But if there was any conversation about it, it was very minuscule. Like, there should have been much more conversation, especially after all the other people had come and discussed the outrage since the previous council. Like, that should have been.
Yeah. Well, and if they did talk about it, they would have talked about it during roundtable at the end of the meeting. There's no opportunity for Kirby or Josh to give their thoughts on the REP program during public commentary. It's not supposed to have an opportunity where council members speak to it. They're expressly supposed to not do it, but they might have changed procedure, or I might have missed that part, but it would lead me to think that they didn't actually talk about it then, but might have talked about it during roundtable.
Or they could have just said one statement in, just split it in the conversation as they were passing along.
Yeah, very, very well could have just been a quick little thing. I'll have to go back and rewatch. I guess we'll have to watch this stream and not theirs, but but yeah, I did find that very disappointing that they didn't read that email. Like, yeah.
It should have been read.
Pardon me?
It should have been read. It was given to the town council as a public letter. Whoever wrote that letter should almost post it to make it public. If the town council thinks that it isn't worth a grain of salt to read aloud, then the individual should definitely be posting it everywhere so everyone can see exactly how little the town council has put the thought into having that read.
Yeah, but it is disappointing. Like, why encourage people to take part in the process if you're just going to dismiss them like that, right? And we were talking earlier about how if that was a letter that was praising them for their bold leadership on X, Y, or Z, they totally would have read it.
Yep. 100%.
Well, anyways, that's why I got you, Amber. Have you been following the Maxwell case at all? Might have lost you. I'll just give, while I'm waiting for you to reconnect or what have you, I'll give my general thoughts.
Yeah, I couldn't follow it. Like this month have been really busy for me, so it's been really hard to actually follow. Like I did follow actually the Rittenhouse case. Like I watched almost everything on that one. But then since the beginning of December, it was really hard for me to actually follow. But I read some like headlines and watched like a couple of videos there, but not a lot.
Were you watching Rittenhouse through Rakita, or where'd you catch that out?
Is that the one with David, like Viva Fry?
Yeah, where they got the whole invoice of lawyers.
Yes, this is the one I was watching. Yes.
Yeah. No, I love Nicky Rackets. He's great.
Yeah. I didn't know him. I knew David. Like I follow his channel, like Viva Fry. Yeah. And that's how I knew about it. So I was watching some of the streams because it's long. They're like it's a long thing. But I also watched a lot of recaps from and stream from the channel like Viva Fry, like the law one. Yeah, so I had a huge like a good understanding of how the case was going and everything was going. Like I don't think I watched every like hour of the case. It's a long case, and it was
I hear you. I didn't watch jury selection, and I think I missed the first couple days. Of the prosecution's case, but then after that I watched everything. I hadn't really watched many of Rakita's streams before because he tends to do it at like 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock our time or whatever, and then he goes for like 3 or 4 hours a night, so it's usually really late and really long. But it was a new thing that he tried out, doing the trials during the day.
Because what I would do is like I would put headphones in my ears and at work while I'm doing like the ads and the paper, and I would actually listen. So it can be like from morning, like when I go there at like 9 at work, and then like by noon I'm done with most of it. Sometimes I skip some parts. Yeah, but I listen to a lot of it.
I've been watching him cover the Potter trial as well. Just because if you're gonna watch a trial, you might as well watch a little bit of commentary to fill all the breaks and gaps and stuff. It can be pretty boring at times.
It is.
But I really like his stuff was great for following that. And who I'm finding is really good for the Maxwell trial is there's this guy. Well, if you were watching Nicky's stream, you probably saw Joe from Good Logic. He lives in Jersey, and he's been driving into the courthouse for the Maxwell trial and attending in person. And so that's not being broadcast anywhere or anything like that. You're not even allowed to take your phone into the courtroom kind of thing. So it's been really scant coverage, but he's been there and he's been providing updates daily. And another guy is Robert Gruler. He's been going through nightly and pretty much doing a recap on all the transcripts and stuff that's been released. And he has really hardcore mind map where he's got all this laid out. It's worth a watch if you want to catch up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll probably check them both. Yeah, hopefully, like by it because we're almost done with like the heavy work. Like we had a lot of work like lined up, so now I should be able to watch again. Like I honestly missed most of like at least half of December. So
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it's like a sports game, right? Like it matters while it's happening, but once it's over, all that matters is the final result,
The
and
highlight, yeah.
that's all we'll ever talk about, right?
Yeah, like you can watch a 10-minute highlight of any sports game and you get like the best moments and
Yeah, exactly. So
So
it's interesting enough to watch as it's going on, but I wouldn't go back and catch up. It would be too much work.
yeah, I'm
Especially,
gonna watch like how it went, what's the most interesting parts that happen, or like reveals and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so to get into the Maxwell one, I think Mercedes and I were talking about this last week or 2 weeks ago, but it's so the scope of what they're going after is so different from what the average person thinks that they should be doing, right? So you're up on all this. I'm sure that you're familiar with Epstein and his
Yeah.
MI6 connections,
Yep.
Mossad, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, the going rumor or going belief is that he essentially was running like a high tier honeypot trap using minors. So
Yeah.
he would get high profile people involved in compromising positions with young girls and then essentially blackmail them. But if you were to, your only information about Mr. Jeff and Lady Maxwell was what came out in trial, you would have an entirely different comprehension of
Really?
who they are. Yeah, like the trial doesn't talk about anyone except for Ghislaine and Jeff, except for when they occasionally drop like Donald Trump's name for being on the plane or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. They said that in the trial. Yeah, I remember that headline was everywhere.
yeah, and that was nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it really, the prosecution keeps trying to drop Trump's name into it, but
Yeah.
out of
Of course.
all the people who flew on that plane, Trump seems to be the most innocent, not leaning in his corner. But there isn't any evidence that he did anything untoward toward anybody. But it could come out. Who knows? But
Yeah. You never know. Yeah.
but regardless, this whole trial has been about making Epstein look like a perv who enjoys massages from young girls, and Ghislaine is just his stricken girlfriend who wants to help satisfy his needs, and so she helps wrangle some of these youngins in. That's the case, and they only have 4 alleged victims. 2 of them have already been removed from consideration of illegal activity, and it's bizarre. Like it at
Yeah.
first, at first I was like, what are they doing here? Like, is this really the best avenue for attack? And no, I think that the cynics out there are actually right, that they're trying to minimize the scope of this investigation. So any of the victims who may have also, who were victimized by Jeff and Lady Maxwell, if they were victimized by someone high profile, like say Kevin Spacey or Prince Andrew or something, well, those are victims that we're not going to bring. The only victims they've brought are ones whose only involvement with bad behavior was with Jeff and Lady Maxwell. Like they're minimizing the scope of this investigation.
Yeah, I didn't follow. So yeah, but that wouldn't surprise me. That whole thing since the start, like the meme, like Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah. So the whole thing was actually like weird. Like it seems like there's something missing or something not talked about.
Oh, there totally is. Like this whole thing is, it's they're trying to get a conviction without casting too wide of a net. It seriously, it's damage control from both sides. Defense and prosecution are doing what they can to limit how much information is really being revealed here. And I would have, just based on the charges and the information that we've seen in court so far, like I said, there's only 2 victims who are technically able to be victims. And then all of these charges come from the Interstate Commerce Clause because they're federal charges, right? So it has to be something to do with the connection between multiple states in order for the feds to get involved. So if you abuse a youngin in a single state and never leave that state, technically you haven't done anything wrong federally. So based on that logic, you only get down to one victim, the one known as Jane, and there are holes in Jane's testimony, particularly regarding the years that certain things happened, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, in terms of providing a reasonable doubt to acquit before this week, I would have said that it existed and that, Lady Maxwell might get off on this. But what happened yesterday during jury instructions is the judge came and said that if you use a product that was manufactured in a different state, that meets the requirement for the Interstate Commerce Clause. So essentially what they're arguing is that with the one victim who never left Florida, they're able to, based on the jury instructions, the jury is able to convict based on that victim because of the fact that Epstein's massage bed was built in California. So,
Really?
yes, so he abused a Floridian girl in Florida, but because he used a Californian manufactured massage table, that counts as a violation of the Interstate Commerce Clause, which sounds loose as hell to me. I question that legal interpretation, but that's what the judge said.
That is crazy. I probably should actually read it more or try to follow and see, because I really know almost nothing about that. I just heard some headline that Trump came into my way, so I probably I can't comment on it if I didn't actually hear it. But what you say is sounds super loose.
Yeah, but Maxwell's clearly not a great person. So, obviously I'm not going to feel too bad if she does wind up getting convicted over all of this. But, I'm a big supporter of the justice system following the rules that we have laid out for it, and to make an effort to meet the ideal that we have regarding justice in our society, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be the Blackstone formulation of, rather let 100 guilty people go free versus falsely imprison an innocent person kind of thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to me, it's important that it shouldn't be necessarily easy per se to take away someone's freedom from the rest of their life. The prosecution needs to earn it, and they do it by properly introducing evidence, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and being professionals. None of this shady stuff going on behind the scenes. So this this type of loose interpretation of a statute like that, I don't think that when they wrote the Interstate Commerce Clause that they intended it to mean that you were breaking the rules if you if you were to steal a bottle of liquor from a liquor store in California, just because that liquor was bottled in Minnesota doesn't mean that you violated federal commerce rules. That seems ridiculous.
That it's definitely ridiculous. And what if it was actually I don't know, in a different country then this is international more? It's just weird. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it is odd. It's just interesting that that's good grounds for appeal. I struggle to believe that that's the way that the law was intended to be written, and likely if she were to challenge that, she'd get off. The other thing too that I'm not so sure about, and people have been talking this whole thing. So I think it was 2005. Maybe it was 12. I think it was 2005. But Mr. Jeff was prosecuted for similar crimes. And he wound up taking a plea deal where he admitted to soliciting a minor for prostitution or something like that.
Yeah.
And so part of his agreement there in exchange for pleading out or whatever, yes, he got the lower charge, but he also got an agreement signed that protected all of his co-conspirators.
Yeah.
So there were 4 named co-conspirators, and then it says whoever else may be or may potentially become involved or whatever is also immune. And so reason would lead you to think that that would extend to Lady Maxwell as well, but and that was my impression, was that even if they convict her, she'll wind up pulling a Cosby and get out as a result of them violating this agreement.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened with Cosby. Is
Yes, I remember.
Cosby was deposed for a civil suit, and he agreed to testify in that suit in exchange for nothing that he said being able to be used against him. And then a decade later, they turned around and brought him up on charges using his testimony in that deposition. So, and then the courts found that that was bullshit. If the government makes a deal with you, they need to honor it. So that's why Cosby is released right now.
Yeah, that he walks free. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a similar thing would go on with Maxwell. The only thing is, I've heard some lawyers debating it about how that might not necessarily be the case. It's simply due to the fact that in order to get around the agreement with Jeffrey in the first place, the reason that they were able to charge him in 2019 and arrest him was because they came up with a new theory of the case that involved a different physical location and a different timeline than he had been granted immunity for in the past. So it was essentially different crimes that they were able to get him for. So that might have been what led to these Maxwell charges, that these Maxwell charges are stemming from events that aren't covered by that prosecution agreement, then maybe she wouldn't be party to that protection. But who knows? We'll see. I find this stuff fascinating.
It is, and I unfortunately was not able to follow, but hopefully I can actually start doing that once the holidays start. So yeah, I can even give you my input about everything I heard, or bring something maybe you didn't hear next time if we talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we need to make a Google Drive or something and start sharing interesting stories to it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you want to start something, whenever you find something interesting, and share it, and just add me to it. I do believe you have my email, right?
I think so. If not, I can find it pretty easily.
It's in the group email with everybody else about the REB. That should be there. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, I probably have to go because we've been.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good chat, sir. I should. Yeah, I also should. I should also get signed up. Go on.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, me too.
Before the phones die.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was a pleasure. Thanks again for joining me. You too.
Sure.
We'll have to plan something for a little bit later, and obviously, if you guys are down to keep covering these meetings, I'd love to keep doing that. But maybe just something a little more casual. If we're just going to talk the whole time, anyways, we might as well have our own discussion in mind. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you have any interesting links, or like you said, you're gonna start the Google Drive, just add me to it, and I will check some of that, and maybe that can direct the conversation next time to certain topics, so you can
a little
bring
bit more of an agenda for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I tried getting you on stream a couple weeks ago, Mercedes, and I had an agenda and you did not, and that's didn't seem to work out the best.
I was a little bit of a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, that's what I feel this is trying to, because I didn't follow much. Yeah.
That's why I'm staying quiet today.
Well, yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to share while we're all together?
Yeah, sure.
No, just when's the next appointment or next meeting for town council?
So their next meeting
are
they probably the 4th of January.
Yeah. So are they gonna have a meeting on the 4th, or?
I would think that they would. They may cancel it, but I think they would have done that already. Do you remember their October 26th meeting, what they said? Because that would have been the one where they set down the schedule.
I for this.
No, I don't actually remember, but
Yeah.
we
Well,
can check.
yeah. Regardless, we'll plan for that Tuesday the 4th. I'll obviously confirm and find out when the meeting actually is, if they've rescheduled or if it will be on that day, and we'll go from there. And then yeah, and then maybe later this week, I don't know, maybe Thursday we can chat for a little bit or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And
Great.
yeah, we should talk again for sure.
You betcha. And we'll have to get better at the grift. We'll all have to go and get Twitter handles and stuff so that we can tell somewhere to tell people to follow us.
I
Well,
hate
my
Twitter.
nephew has some plans for that. So
Oh, I know. I hate Twitter too. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for the fact that so many people use like Twitter, it would be completely useless. But that actually, surprisingly, is one of the best ways to reach people. But anyways,
It
Isn't that
depends on the
crazy?
age group you're trying to reach, right? Because I think there's more people in Instagram if you're looking for younger generation. For older generation, there's a lot on Facebook. Twitter is
so on
more
Instagram, Snapchat.
millennials, I think, is more on Twitter.
that's a good point. I guess they I'm thinking more like media personalities or public figures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and pretty much all public figures have a
Yeah,
Twitter
but I'm
these days.
talking about like the general public. If you're trying to reach older people, I think there's more on Facebook. Younger people more on Instagram and Snapchat.
Yeah,
And millennials are usually on both or in Twitter.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
also famous people, of course, like all journalists and all of that is Twitter. Yes.
Yeah, well, I wonder how long until the grandmas start joining Snapchat and it becomes a boomer platform as well.
I don't know. I think they grow up with it. That's the thing. Like I think a lot of people who actually like when Facebook came, they were in their 30s and maybe 20s, 30s, 40s. And when they joined, now most of them like when was Facebook? 2007 or something or 8.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah. So after that, they grew up with it. They stayed on it, and now their kids are just starting to don't want to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I've been
why
told
would
we're old.
well, and why would you want to join a platform where all
Your
of your
parents.
parents and grandparents can see all of your comments with all
Yeah.
of your friends, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyways, with that, I guess I'll sign out.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
actually we'll end the broadcast now. Have a great night, everyone. Take
You
care.
too. And Merry Christmas to everybody.